52% increase in profit. That's what was declared today by JP Morgan. Now, that sounds great, but what's it on the back of? Well, prior to this banking crisis, as the Fed has been increasing interest rates, people have had no choice but to service any credit liabilities that they've obtained from JP Morgan. So any products that JP Morgan has, they're going to be winning because interest rates are going up. So they've made a lot of money on the back of that. But how long is it sustained for? This is the next question, because you've got Waller, one of the FOMC speakers who is renowned for being so hawkish, and what we mean by that, he favors tighter policies. He is favoring tighter policies that are far more tighter than a nun's. No, we're not going to say it. Moving on from that, we're going to be diving into a few stocks that there's a bit of an opportunity that we can exploit. Gave you one little heads up yesterday, and I've come across a couple of more stocks that are showing promise, a crypto stock in particular. And then, of course, we're going to be diving into good old Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin done today, man? I mean, come on. Did you pay yourself? You might watch this video and think, man, this guy wants Bitcoin to absolutely collapse. No, I don't. What I do want is I want you to be earning whilst it's moving up if you are in good positions. Pay yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because the market will pull off dirty little plays like it did today. So if you are new to the channel, hit the like button. You know the flavor. Make sure to subscribe because you'll be tuning into the live streams next week. Let's have a conversation, guys. So as of late, we've got the main investor in Charles Schwab getting rid of his whole stake, roughly around $1.4 billion, because he simply doesn't trust the banks anymore. He doesn't want the exposure. We'll go into the chart itself, and you can see it's trading at $50 a share, and so far for the week, it's up nearly 2.63% for the week. So it's doing all right, given the current turmoil in the banking sector. But let me draw your attention to something. The main player sells his stake. Okay, cool. Well, let's just go back into this chart right here, and you can see the latest purchases that have happened in Charles Schwab coming up on 29th of March. Catherine has decided to buy $267,000 worth of shares. We've also got a big purchase here at $2 million by Stephen, and then another one by Walter, and we haven't had any more sales as of yet. Funnily enough, you can see Charles Schwab declares its earnings in 3 days' time on the 17th. Now, JP Morgan smashed it today. 52% return on its profits. Great. That's awesome. So can we be safe in the knowledge that these guys know what it's going to be like? Is there a reason why these guys are buying up? Now, this is a little bit of an expensive stock to buy a certain amount, which is going to make an impact. So if you were to buy 5,000 shares of this company, you're probably going to be spending about 200 grand. And if it shoots up to $60 a share, you've made yourself a nice return right there for a quick flip. Okay? But let me introduce to you a couple of more stocks that are in an area where we need to look for the future. Because what I'm doing here is trying to help you research a company's purpose before you commit anything. Check this out. First one I want to talk about is a crypto stock called Applied Digital. Now, just lately, they declared a growth of 14%. So we go into the stock itself, and we go there, and we can see not doing too bad. Look at that. $3.50 for a company that provides next-generation data center equipment to computer power to blockchain infrastructure and support Bitcoin mining. Well, if you're into cryptocurrency, but you don't want to buy Bitcoin because it's too volatile, you might as well do what Fidelity Bank and Bank of America have done. Instead of the exposure and the volatility of Bitcoin as a coin itself, they may as well just go and get invested in MicroStrategy. That way, MicroStrategy has the exposure, and they're going to make sure that they generate the returns for their investors, because it's ultimately about the shareholders' interest. That's what it's all about. Same thing with Applied Digital, currently $3.48. Now, what you're looking for in a company is, what are they actually doing to make sure that they're still in the game? Now, the one thing that I'm concerned about is they're not really declaring what their research and development is. They do have 8% debt. That means as a NASDAQ stock, it's a tech stock, it's going to be subject to interest rate increases. Now, if they only have 8% debt, I guess they can manage themselves, all right? They haven't got that much debt. But Remember, tech stocks will always suffer when interest rates keep on going up, which leads me to another stock. Check this one out. We've got this company, all right? It's called Nogin or Nogin. I don't know how it's said. Can you please help me in the comments section? But this is a expert e-commerce company that provides infrastructure for those involved in e-commerce. So if you've got a Shopify store, you're going to come to these guys and you're going to say to them, I need help in my Shopify store. What can you provide for me? So we actually have a look at the ticker symbol itself and you can see 9.6 million. It's cheap as chips. All right. Invests around 5.6% in research and development. It is brand new, right? 2021 was the IPO. We just recently had some big purchases in this company. Check this out. Sharamaya, forgive me, I can't say it, and Wilhelmine, no, Hussein, Stephen, they've been buying up this stock. Big purchases as well. Good old Jonathan, CEO, has picked up $3 million worth of this stock. Let me just tell you about the e-commerce environment. E-commerce sales are projected to reach $7.4 trillion by 2025. Okay, that's a big market cap, 7.4 trillion. More than crypto. And that's by 2025. So if the word gets on the street that this company, provides great services and people actually use this company, then granted, the share price is going to start moving up. And look at where these purchases have come in. And of course, the earnings per share is the largest bout of volume that's come in. And the earnings per share ain't going to be happening anytime soon because they've just recently been listed and they're in the process of developing their system. So keep an eye out on a company like this. Lots of shares. It's up 54% for the week. So it's a big move. All right. Now we get into the good old Bitcoin price action. If you've made it this far, say you survived the ear chewing in the comments section. What's been going on? Well, it's vector candle recovery. See, they come back into the same zone that they moved away from the daily open from the Asian session last night. Okay, Bitcoin makes a nice little move towards nearly that 31,000, but couldn't quite take it. But Bitcoin fell today, all because of the pressures of the stock market. Now, if we actually have a look at other assets before I get back into Bitcoin and where I expect it to end up, we go into assets like Euro, and you can see, man, Euro took a snap to the downside. Quite a sad story. But what I want you to be aware of here is when they start forming specific structures. What do I mean? Well, in hindsight, we can say like, look, there is an M formation right here. Happy days, price drops to the downside. We've also got the idea that this is a weekly cycle. You've got the W formation, rise up, retrace level 1, rise up, retrace level 2, M formation, drop level 1, drop level 2, drop level 3, peak formation, okay? And you can kind of see that that sort of flavor has happened with Euro. So we've had the move from the downside down here. They've shifted up. So you've got yourself a level 1 zone here, you've got a level 2 zone right here, and then you've got a level 3 zone up here. And now we are in principle looking at the idea that Euro is going to follow on with this move to the downside. So drop, retrace, oops. So the drop, the retrace, the continuation lower, drop, retrace, and then consolidate and try and come back up again. That's what you would consider as a weekly cycle. Now, it hasn't taken a week to complete this whole thing, but they've achieved the first part of the cycle. Now, let me give you another example. In the Patreon this morning, it was actually last night, I shared this projection about dollar yen. And in this video, I go on to explain how we prepare price action for the future. Now, we won't know if they're going to do it, but because dollar yen has been dropping quite aggressively and so has the dollar, news announcements could have instigated a reversal if things weren't looking as promising. And if the bigger picture suggests that the markets are going to drop, naturally, we're going to see interest in the dollar come back in. So in this video part, what I was doing was helping them understand how we would expect certain criteria to come in. And you can do this on any asset. There's a market maker, there's a liquidity provider, one in Bitcoin, one in pound, Euro, you name it. It's all about trying to gauge the probability of a pattern developing, all right? So then we go into the actual development of that pattern itself. We go to dollar yen, and this was the result. They come back into the liquidity pool right here. W formation, 50 EMA, crosses over. You go into the 5-minute time frame, and you can see right there, what we were looking for was that 50 EMA to start coming down and then start working its way back up to recover the vector candles in this zone. The clue for me was the fact that the dollar dominance was not breaking down fully, given that euro was just climbing up non-stop. Just look at euro's move to the upside, and then you look at dollar's move to the downside, and it wasn't actually going anywhere. Just look at it. We had a bit of a move lower, but whilst euro was climbing up aggressively, dollar wasn't really breaking down. And it was this area right here that we had anticipated that dollar was going to start making its way back up. So we put this in the video last night with the idea of expecting price to make a move to the upside. Okay. So we got Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame, takes a bit of a tumble today, ladies and gentlemen. Actually crossed down below the 50 EMA. Now, Bitcoin is in a very important point. Why? Because we're going to assume that momentum can hold. The way that we work that out is if it can stay within this cloud. You see this cloud zone right here? You see that cloud? As long as price can stay within that zone, it's going to try and climb back up again. What you want to look for is Bitcoin to try and move back up and recover these vector candle zones right here. That's what you're looking for, okay? Now, when we go to the higher timeframes, we can see Bitcoin it's done great. Now, naturally, we would assume a little bit of a retrace to come into play, because if the market maker wants to pick up more orders at lower prices, he is naturally going to bring price back down to only bring it back up again. That's what we're looking for. But the longer that Bitcoin holds higher in these zones, I mean, if you look at the 4 hour time frame, it just looks like another opportunity to buy. Why? It's taken a move to the downside, but it hasn't actually broken down. Okay. Now, coming into the weekend, we do have the idea that Bitcoin could just trade sideways over the weekend. And then, of course, news announcements next week could see Bitcoin move up or down. And you can see today, Bitcoin has reacted to the news. So if you're going into the weekend and you've got longs, make sure that you take some profits and lock them in, just so that you're not caught out with volatility in the charts. That's what you're looking for. Okay. Just make sure you pay yourselves, because these vector candles down here, look at this. These vector points right here are going to be a bit of a problem if you went long inside of this zone right here and you see price just rolling over and coming back into this zone. You're just giving money to the market. You don't need to do that. Take the profit or lock in the profit. So, for example, if you are in a long and you entered at this point right here, lock yourself a profit from this zone. Something like that. Because then you've got all of this zone right here, which is locked in with profit. If Bitcoin comes down towards this point here and closes you out, cool. You then have another opportunity to see if it's a right time to go long from it. Why? Because inside of this area here, you're going to get proof as to whether or not Bitcoin is getting ready to form the rise, the retrace, the continuation. You don't want to be going long when it's floating around these moving averages. You want to wait for them to test it. We had that situation before. Go to the daily time frame. Remember this? We were waiting for the test of the 50 EMA. They came down to the 50, broke the 50, continued beyond the 50, and then literally shifted back up again. Because everyone that was in this area here was of the belief that if Bitcoin was going to break down the 50 EMA, it was going to continue to move down. And they managed to trap enough traders inside of this zone, which happened to be one of the candle strategies that we talk about, which is the green vector candle continuation. All right, GVC, which effectively says that when price moves down and recovers a vector candle, if the idea of this move right here is going to continue, it will then engage in interest and move back up again. That logic is where this situation falls right here. We would assume that if Bitcoin is going to come back down, we would anticipate that Bitcoin is going to hold in the midpoint of this vector zone and continue back up from that zone. So, mad love and respect for passing through. And if you've made it this far, mad love. Again, tell you what, surprise me. Put something in the comments section. Surprise me. Put whatever you like. Be nice. Come on. Be nice. I know you're all nice, but be nice. Hope you have a great evening and a great weekend ahead. Mad love and respect. And I'll be checking in with you all next week. You want to learn more about the hybrid system? Go into the description of the video, check out the Patreon, go on the website, have a look at what we actually do on the Traders Reality website. You can get the hybrid system free, and then you can learn more about it in the Patreon. Mad love, guys. Take care of yourselves. Peace.